The following may contain language and subject matter which is not appropriate for all audiences. But
It probably won't.
judging from the following, judging from the previous, yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Low Fact Podcast. Matt and Dave, fumbling through Anger Week.
It's funny you think I'm not really angry.
Pardon?
I'm not really angry in Anger Week.
Why would you want to be angry?
I think that sometimes people do want to be angry.
Then that just ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy.
We didn't even get to talking about how anger, it seems like it's something that's encouraged.
Well, we can talk about that later, but...
Yeah.
Or we can talk about that today.
No, let's talk about where anger comes from, because we're already on that topic.
I think it's pretty easy. Anger comes from frustration. Anger comes from lack of achievement in stated goals.
So if life's going pretty well for you, you're not angry.
You're not as angry as someone for whom life is not going very well for.
That's true. And that always kind of makes me angry when someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't be so angry," or "Don't worry, things will get better," and da da da. And I'm like, "Well, you're not in my situation.
Well, I
So
think
you don't
that
understand my frustration."
I think that's okay, yeah, but that's because you believe that you're being patronized, which stokes the fire.
It does. It makes me angry. I mean, honestly, like, I think sometimes people are trying to, when someone says that, they're coming from a place of trying to be.
Well, they're always trying
sympathetic.
to be sympathetic, but
They're not necessarily trying to be patronizing, but it just comes off as patronizing.
well, they're not succeeding because, they're just kind of throwing stuff out. Maybe this will help. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you don't get it.
Or, you want to say, why don't you shut up for a second and think about stuff before you talk, you ignorant idiot.
I would never say that.
I have to be pushed pretty far to say something like that, but I do. I think anger really just comes from frustration, from not being able to get a desired goal or result. So in your example of women being very angry at being disagreed with, it's because they're not being agreed with.
Yeah.
They're being contravened.
But it's like a white hot anger.
Well, maybe that's because all through their life they say something and people are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's usually what it is. It's exactly that scenario. And I'm just wondering where that comes from.
Where what comes from?
The anger that comes from a woman being disagreed with.
Because that person may not be very used to being disagreed with.
So basically, their whole life, everyone's just kind of.
I'm not going to speculate on a non-existent person and their non-existent life, but I'm just saying that if you are used to having things going for you in a pretty positive way, when things don't happen the way you're used to, you become unhappy. You feel a sensation that has rarely been felt.
But that's just life. I mean, that's life.
Sure.
I mean, that is life of, like, yeah, there are consequences to shit that you do. Like, if you're going to do something that causes someone else to sit there and go, what the hell are you doing? And then you say, why are you doing that? And then you get angry. That just, I'm like,
I also think it depends.
It's almost like a denial of, like, life.
It depends. It depends on that input. If why are you doing that is why are you doing that, and you go berserk, then that's kind of weird. But if the input is posed as why are you doing that, then you're
going to have a reaction.
You're going to have a pretty violent reaction because anger feeds upon perceived anger.
So do you think anger is a good or a bad thing?
I think it's both.
Depends.
Very much so.
So it's not intrinsically good or bad.
If you're being shot at by a bunch of machine gun nests and all of a sudden you just go "Arr!" and decide to take them out, it's a pretty bad thing for those folks shooting at you. But it's a good thing for you and the people you're protecting if you're able to
disarm,
stop that.
Yeah.
Which is probably why. And that brings me to the Barney Hajiro thing. I'm pretty sure those Germans with the machine guns thought it was pretty horrendous that this little Japanese dude came running up and killed all of them. But Barney and his buddies were probably like, oh, great. We stopped that assault.
Mm-hmm. So pretty easy answer. Frustration. Annoyance. Dissatisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, those are all things that fear. I mean, anger. Fear can lead to anger. And I think back to my Barney Hajiro example. I'm pretty sure he was scared pretty shitless with machine guns firing at him, bullets whizzing all over the place. And then he probably took that fear, or that fear kind of changed somehow.
Well, that's a perfect example of the positive, the fight or flight. I'm going to fight.
Yeah.
Or you run away, if you can.
Well.
But that wouldn't be being angry. That would be giving in to fear.
Well, sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. So yeah, if someone's coming to attack you, I would say, if possible, let's take yourself out of that situation so neither person gets hurt.
Yeah.
But if there's nowhere to go, like a cornered animal will go nuts.
Yeah. But in most situations, well, actually, I don't know. That's an assumption on my part. I was going to say in most situations in society, you have the option, but it just depends.
But I believe that's where the anger comes from. The anger comes from not being able to attain your desired result, whatever that desired result is.
And this isn't something you think should be taught. It should be learned through your family and friends and not at school.
I think school has a place.
I mean, you have to control your anger at school.
Sure, you have to control a lot of things at school. I mean, school is a place where socialization happens. I think more often than not nowadays, school is something that's kind of skewed towards the proclivities of young girls and not young boys, because young girls, young boys have all kinds of energy. They don't want to sit still. They want to go play. They want to do this. They want to do that. And that helps bleed off that whatever. Mm. And so, being that can help doing it. But I think that for a young boy, the best teacher on a lot of stuff is his father. Son, I know you're angry. I know this is it, but this is not the way you deal with stuff.
Right.
This is how you deal with stuff. And, okay, yeah, it becomes necessary that, number one, there's a father around, and number two, the father is not a child himself.
Yeah.
Child being immature, not young.
And if the father's childish, then chances are that kid's going to be like some bully or something.
Well, we learn by observation. So if dad, in his anger, punches walls, then the kid's going to say, okay, well, that's how I deal with anger. Punch walls.
Yeah.
But, if a kid sees dad or mom, but mostly dad, a young boy I'm talking about, sees dad get angry because, I haven't counted the number of times a day that I get angry, but, I generally lose count at about 30 or 40. But, there are at least 30 or 40 instances in a day where I just get angry.
Wow.
Something pisses me off. And I can't lash out at people. I shouldn't. Unfortunately, I do. But that's not a pretty acceptable way to deal with, what's going on. What can help you deal with anger? Exercise. Physical fitness is an incredible thing to deal with a whole lot of stuff. If you're physically in good shape, and I don't mean, like ripped and Adonis-like. I'm talking about if you're physically healthy, physically fit, physically able to deal strong, that helps deal with a lot of stuff. Sickness doesn't affect you as bad. You can stay motivated. And I'm thinking of stuff that I've read about, military stuff. I mean, in the military, they really encourage physical fitness because, you're out there doing something. You're preparing to do something that's very physically challenging.
Oh my goodness.
And if you have the strength to keep doing it, then your motivation stays, because there's nothing more demoralizing than failure, which will make you angry.
And do you think that physical fitness is also about dealing with anger? No.
Physical fitness can help you deal with anger. So let's say that you've had a lot of stuff during the day that just hacks you off and junk. and you go home and you exercise, or you go to the gym and you exercise, and it could be boxing, hitting the heavy bag. It can be running. It can be exercise. Really helps bleed off anger. It decreases that. I try to exercise a lot, unfortunately, because I'm well ensconced in middle age. I can't exercise like I could when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Younger 20s, that is. But exercise really helps. When you exercise, you feel better, and that's an easy cheat. It's an easy cheat for anger.
Right.
So I guess that's enough for today, and tomorrow we'll finish out Anger Week with some of the negatives, I suppose.